Welcome back everyone to Blizzard Beach Sicily edition. In the next episode of our skiing park we are doing a ski lift. So we're starting part 1 with the 2-seater lift model. This one is going to be up in the workshop as well for today's episode. And also will be the biggest part of our episode today. Now, this episode is really special because I tried so many things to make this lift work. Speaking of so many things, there are so many DLCs and games you probably haven't touched upon yet, but with Instant Gaming you can do so for a good value, and you can check out the latest DLCs, the latest games, or you can actually book yourself platform-related currencies, just like on PS4, PS5, PS Network, whatever, and also get those for a better value. Instant Gaming has good support, fully reliable, and you can find everything you can wish for. So test it out, link here is in the description as always, but now let's get back into my video. And it, kind of works at the end of the day. I'm super proud of the design, I'm super proud of how it looks, I'm super proud of how it actually behaves. The only thing, obviously, it's not operational as soon, as you want to have people in there. There's no chance to do it, okay? So it's fully cosmetic, but at least it looks very believable. And it is inspired by the lift that is obviously in the original Blizzard Beach, but also by typical kind of 2-seater lifts you will find in the Alp region for like skiing areas. I used to go to one of those in the past. It's not existing anymore, but the good old Ethan lift, for those of you who know, in Austria. This one has been a 2-seater chairlift for the longest part, and it's been, depending on the weather, rather scary to be honest, but I still enjoyed that a lot, and I've been also on these lifts in questionable conditions, let's put it that way, but it always was good fun to actually be on the slope, to have some fun skiing and so on. So just, you have to know about me. I think I really didn't speak about that so often in the past, but I'm massively into skiing, like in the whole alpine sports, I personally am a skiing person. I'm not so much of a snowboard person, but that just kind of continues being a theme in my life. I've not been someone to do like skateboard. I've always been the one for the inline skates. I've not been the one for wakeboarding. I've been for water ski. Wasser, it's German word for water is Wasser. Also, I can't really concentrate that much. You do hear that I'm a little bit like having a cold here and there. I'm feeling okay, but the talking is very hard because I need to focus on talking, to not sounding too nosy. But anyways, at the end of the day, I'm always sounding nosy. There's always something. But I really love skiing. I love being in the Alps. I love being in snow. I love being in cold weather is great, or snowstorms. I don't know why, I just love snowstorms. It's kind of a weird thing. I also tried to make this thing actually movable, like the restraints over here, but no matter what I did, I couldn't find the right rotation point to make it go. I could have done this a little bit differently, but then again, I knew that I will have to align this properly at some point as well. And so let's continue talking about the secret. So as soon as I was done with the seater, I already had tested a couple of things. You can see there were my fake dummies over here of my first iteration. I thought first of all to go with like semi-open cabins, but I ended up doing this, and you can see the mine train coaster with huge stations to make the coaster train as long as possible are buried underground, and these things then have the seatings above them to fake this one. It's been a lot of fiddly things I'll show you in the real-time part, but I don't want to annoy you too much. Let's continue with the lift itself, because I'm briefly talking about why I'm not showing the footage to you, because I looked at it. It's terrible, okay? It is absolutely terrible. This episode, by the way, is potentially my most cut episode ever. I've left out so many things because it was absolutely not enjoyable at all for you guys, because I've been moving around the camera like a complete madman to just figure out which angle exactly I need. I've changed the track and the speed of the mine train about 100 times. Like, honestly, I've been continuously going in and out to test and do my best I can. It looks very seamless and easy once you see it at the end. It looks really, really dang cool. But honestly, the amount of work that was required to get it really that seamless looking was freaking insane, because it's like, it depends really on what you do. I'm playing a lot with like the different speeds of the chain lift and of the brakes. Like going up the hill is obviously chain lift, going down the hill is the trim brakes, and you needed to kind of get those two things, including the physics of going down, obviously gravity playing a role, needed to get this somehow correct. And I even have some pieces in between where I left out the brake or the trim brake, and also I left out the how's it called, the train lift, the chain lift again, simply to have a block section to make both trains go after each other, because otherwise it wouldn't look the same. So I needed to have pieces in between and then also match up the speed again. So it was annoying, but you can see making this actually looks really cool. Obviously I'm using the gear again here on the lower side and upper side to just have this rotational platform that would spin around the chains, obviously. That was a very simple one, obviously, to build. Just having that rotational platform in the center, put some cool stuff on it, and then we're good to go. You know, that's been as easy as it can be. And I figured at some point I don't want to have this kind of weird engine on top of it. But this is actually also where the realism leaves the chat, because I, you know, for some time I thought I'm gonna make this look fully realistic and stuff. But at this point, I was like, okay, I can't make the turn properly. And I'm going to quickly explain to you why. You'll see that here underground, that I have the track go absolutely bonkers down range. Because the reason is I can't make it one track. You may have questioned yourself, why the hell do you build two of the freaking coasters instead of just one going around and back into the station? Well, the reason for that is relatively simple. In order to make these seatings behave realistically uphill, you need to have them tilt a little bit, okay? And when they go into the station, the tilt obviously changes a little bit, because then this is realistically, which is the station we are building right now, realistically where the people jump out of the seater going back onto the skiing slope. Now, the problem is, when you have your coaster go upwards, you need to tilt the seatings in the upper direction, so it kind of conquers the upwards direction of the coaster train. If it's going down, you need to do the exact opposite. And if you keep the same coaster, obviously going down would look very odd, because that would then look like as if the seatings would be turned to the back fully. Makes no sense at all. And so at this point I was like, okay, I need a gate to hide these things away when they go in. I need to hide this somehow. But like, building a gate is not that simple with a chain lift, because obviously, well, the chain and the things have to go somewhere. So I needed to keep this relatively open at some point, where the cable would realistically go and the holding mechanism of this. So that is why. The good thing is, for the station in the valley, actually, this is the upper station, which turned out pretty good. Like, not gonna lie, I like this. It's a very narrow end to the station. Like, I wouldn't even say it's super unrealistic. Like, I've been to many skiing resorts, and there have been very interesting lifts that also had some very narrow and tiny ends to some of the lifts, where you really have to be a professional skier to get this done. So I mean, this is very short. You know, you would definitely crash into the wall if you don't pay attention. But I used then the decals to fake the snow, which worked incredibly well. And the good part about these is they are, at least the normal dirt decals, they are per default like cream white, I would call them. The problem is, if you use them, which I will do later on, that's a cool kind of trick. If you create yourself a custom scenery brush where you're only using the decals, you can fake snow as a brush even. Problem being, they are always cream white. And I was just losing my breath here. Sorry if that's an awkward cut in the voiceover, but oh my god, like there's some coughing going on. Very, very out of nowhere. Anyways. I was using the decals, and when you add the decals to the scenery brush, you can't change their default color, which is a bit of an odd one. I really would love if Frontier can do this, because at first I thought, okay, that's just simply because we shouldn't use like proper scenery pieces as a scenery brush and only foliage. But then again, we also have some flexicolor foliage, which we can't change. Anyways. After the station, it was time for the Pists, and this time around, we have a dueling skiing slope, which is the Alpine Slalom over here, the Olympic Slalom, which it should be. And next to it, in a second, you'll see that, I will also place down something else, but more about that in a second. First of all, there was someone in the comments mentioning that later on, who said, like, it would be really cool if the slides have the different colors of the difficulty of the different slopes, which I still think is a good idea, but these two would then be fully black. And I had this at some point, and I was like, yeah, but just that doesn't make any sense. Because I wanted to keep this white as like the dual link station. It's not totally white, it's like light blue, which sometimes in these skiings, it's not like slalom, it's actually super ski, has these blue outlines to give them the track where they have to go. And then the slalom, you'll say, we will have the little slalom gates in a second. But next to it, I wanted to also have like a bobsled area, which is where the bob tournaments would be going on. And this one is just like a placeholder for the moment. Like the layout is somewhat already what it should be, but it'll look a little bit different. I want to have like a little restaurant down there. The track itself, not so much, but the region itself should be inspired a bit like by Königssee. So I may actually put like a natural lake to the side here, if you want to look that up. But unfortunately, you know, the bob thing in Königssee has suffered from some floodings recently, so it's not really existing anymore the way it is. And the restaurant down there, which unfortunately doesn't exist at all anymore, but we used to go there quite a couple times, and I loved it. And so this may actually be the inspiration for that. So you know, a bit of trivia where I've been and so on. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, finishing off these houses over here with a couple of simple elements. It's not going to stay that way fully. I mean, the station down here is relatively serious and should be staying the same, but I will eventually change a couple of things. You will see we make like a little sign over here, and this will be, if you're wondering why there's Olympia instead of Olympic, I wanted to go for like a more believable wording, because it could be somewhere in Germany or Austria, and then this would have been called Olympia, which is the wording we would be using. And then even in another country, you would then call this the Olympia-Abfahrt, rather than turning that into Olympic piste or slope. So that's what it is, and also made like a little, well, I don't want to call it sign, and you know, I'm not even saying that because that would shame all the crazy people making actual signs in the game. I just made like a little nod to it being a lift, okay? So so that's that. And then at some point I was like, okay, you know what's missing? These typical kind of skiing fences, like these red typical very light fences that usually you do have a couple of those right after each other, specifically for super ski, when the skiers have some crashes or so. These things are very good to slow them down without causing too much damage and so on. But you see them everywhere around. And then at some point I was like, okay, you know, typically you can see some of the gondolas or the seaters and stuff being displayed in front of the lifts. Usually, and I'll talk about that briefly in the real-time part as well, usually they are there to just kind of say, you know, how that was in the past, and now you have the new gondolas, but for this one it's only on display. And at some point I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to do the snow, and this is what I was talking about. Using the decals as snow brush worked relatively well, and then I thought, you know what, these stones over here as boulders, like snow boulders, would work very nicely too, and so I ended up using them as well. I potentially will start exchanging all the old things with the new ones, because I felt like these rocks look a lot better than the fake snow with the typical arch shapes, because it isn't so shiny. They have a bit more of a nicer texture, and so using them around here would also look a lot better. But you know, that'll be done as like a last little detail. Speaking of a last little detail, one more important thing about this is having this kind of typical starting area for the Olympic slope, and then this is where I wanted to make like the starting gate, you know, where the time trail is going to be started. And I wanted to just build like a proper one over here, and I found this piece over here being very neat, something like you would see in these typical starting areas. And I also wanted to have some branding on it, because usually you have some sponsors and stuff of that. Like it's very much how you would expect this from a skiing area. Using some of these signatures and roof trims over here, they work incredibly well. I can really imagine these working super nice also from some googly stuff, or some just generic Main Street stuff would work, but also some very kind of American builds. Like, there's a lot you can do with these pieces. They are very versatile, have a great texture, and yeah, I used them for the starting area over here, and I called this whole thing the FIS Splash Cup, or Fizz Splash Cup, which it is. And yeah, I just like it, you know, putting a couple of little signs here from our in-game brands as if they were the sponsor, just being very happy with how this all turned out. But anyways, we are at the end of the voiceover. You survived it, I survived it with my broken voice, but I really enjoyed doing this, so let me know your comments about all of this we did in this episode. It's not really that much done, but the ingenuity that needed to go into it, make the whole area work, figuring out how snow looks better and how the lift works, that was it. But anyways, let's have a look how it looks in-game, shall we? Alright, here we are in the very quick real-time part today, because actually, despite the fact we got a lot done, there is not a lot to show, simply because there's not too much to, well, go around. The next episode will be a lot more, you know, you can already tell there's something in here. I'm preparing for the next episode. This little kids area will be a lot nicer. Let's actually quickly wade through the water here, and then, you know, emerge on the other side. Also, there's a very nice swimsuit over here, color-wise and so on. I like that one. Anyways, this is the double-seater Olympiac. I'm just gonna call this Olympia. I mean, it's Olympic, but see, if it's in our area here in the Alps, or like in Austria or Germany, it would be Olympia. So that's why I did call it this way. And all the way in the top, you can see this is the FIS, the Fédération Internationale de Skiing, or the ski, which is the International Skiing World Cup, and I call that the Fizz Splash Cup, actually. And usually you've got all these like different brands, like sponsors and stuff on the side, so I decided to go for the in-game brands as the sponsors on these sides. I'm not sure if I had this in the time-lapse, but it might be not, I don't know. So this is where we have it. Also pretty typical, you have these kind of seaters on here on display. Usually what they do is, if they have a new gondola, like a modern one like over there, they used to have these old ones in front of it, just to showcase how it was in the past. I just decided to have one here as an example to see what kind of seater you can sit into. I quite like how this turned out, to be honest. I think it's looking super decent. Honestly, one of the best things, I guess, in terms of how flawless and seamless it looks in the game I made. I'm not sure if I have this in the time lapse or not, but I did try to make even this security handle go up and down, but I couldn't make it work fully, so I decided against this. But yeah, so this is how it looks over here, and let's jump out of this camera and go into the overlooking camera, because this is how it all looks over here, and I gotta say, I am mega happy. So this upper part over here still has to be finished. I need to clean up a couple things. I'll make like a proper building to the back here, that this all looks a lot more clean, but you know, I already spent way too many hours on this build, so at some point I needed to get this done in some way. And so over here we do have our, obviously, bobsled, which this should be, but I mean, you know, it's a slide, but I thought that would also be just filling and fitting, not filling but fitting, because this is what we are doing over here. This is our area, the sports area, the ski sports area. I'm also kind of confused why it's going so slow down here. I needed to even have the water jet going up, so technically if this has the speed it should have, they should be way more than quick enough to make this little top hill over here, but apparently it didn't, so I needed to have this little uphill speedy thingy, but you know, maybe with the physics patch this will be patched anyways. And yeah, I'm very proud of how the snow turned out with these rocks being nice, and also the decals. I mean, the decals are kind of all over the place, as you can see, but you know, if you don't get too close to it, it looks kind of nice, and it looks very, very, very nice from you know, from a distance. And I haven't tested an on-ride, but I think it should be fine. You don't see them peaking too often. I mean, you do see it eventually. So I may actually close this off with some rocks here and there. Oh my god, that one over here is very nasty. Let's get rid of it. So there you go. And then apparently the star of the show, my fake ski lift over here, is something rather interesting, as I've shown already in the in the time lapse. This was kind of a weird thing to do. So just going into the ground, you can see there is obviously a station, like a coaster station over here, and then these things tumble down into the ground. The same things happen on the other side. So we do have two different or separate mine trains next to each other. I figured that this one is the best because I could make the train the longest. I could have made this even longer by enlarging the station, but at some point you get the issue that you need to build these the lowest part even lower, and you can see I do have the brakes on here, but apparently it still catches some speed, and the deeper you go, the more speed it will eventually catch, and the upper part looks very odd indeed. But I'm very happy with how this turned out. I mean, for now, this is the best thing you can do. Well, as soon as we have track rides or other things, we can use them. Apparently we could also use then the gondola as the perfect fake for it. Just put the gondola back in the ground and it should be working. You could even have like a fake access in the ground to the actual gondola going below ground and have people actually going up and down. You can't really see them in the gondolas though, but even that could be fake with some statues though. But yeah, also over here you can see that it's not all perfect. They're coming off the ground. I would have needed to figure out how to do this exactly to make them go here. I tried a couple things, but at this point I'm like, whatever, it does do what it should do, and it looks really cool, specifically from this angle or from this angle over here. Both sides look absolutely phenomenal, way better than I expected it to look. Like if we go into the guest camera over here again and then just zoom in on it, I mean, it just looks so cool. You've got that like alpine area there in the back. This is like the ski jumping arena, and then you see the Olympic double-seater going down. I just madly in love with it. I think it just looks so cool. I think it looks so cool. The best thing is when they eventually, also you can see there's a little issue here from the lower part, they don't really follow exactly. This one now does. As I said, it's gonna change depending on how quick the train will move, but yeah, it's way better than I expected it to be. So let's keep it that way. And yeah, it just looks very, very neat apparently. So, that said, this is it for today's episode. I really, really do hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed making this a lot. At the moment, it's a bit of a tricky thing for me to do these videos because I never know if I'll be able to finish them or the little one is, joining us. Still not there. Still not with us, but it could be there any minute. So, whenever I can do videos, I will. But I also need to ensure to go to bed early and stuff like that to... if it happens midnight, I don't want to be just sitting here and playing the game for 8 hours straight and then being super tired. That's not the idea. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy this as much as I do, because I certainly enjoy this series quite a lot at this point. It's a lot of fun. It makes a lot of sense for me now. And looking at the whole footprint, we are slowly getting there. Look at that. This is the whole footprint, and some of the pools will still be changed. This pool over here will be changed a little. Our coaster over here will be changed a little. But there's not really that much. So the next episode should really cover this right-hand side here mostly, and on the opposite side. So these two sides will be finished in the next episode, and the last episode will be checking out the entrance, which is kind of the opposite way of doing it, but I figured that's the best thing to do it right now. And, I can't wait to see how this will turn out eventually at the end. It's going to be one of my favorite builds so far in this game, because it's just, I don't know, I think it's looking really good. I think it makes a whole lot of sense, and yeah, just... I don't know, just enjoy building in it. Let me know what you think of this build, and also if you have any more ideas for these skiing areas, what I'm missing, let me know in the comments down below what we could do. If you've got any other ideas for our alpine area, again, let me know in the comments down below. I talk to you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching as always, and have a good time, and goodbye.